world traveler, bon vivant, Bob Whitcomb. Is he in the house?
Yep, hi.
How are you, sir?
And war criminal.
And war criminal. I always like to start global when having a conversation like this.
I like to think local and then go on a trip around the world.
Oh, you want to start
that's right.
local?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's pick up with.
I want to globalize the local.
Okay.
It's all one story.
So let's go Paw Sox first.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. If a very rich state like Massachusetts won't pay for it, why do we? That's the problem. That's
So
the
what
central-
you know?
The central issue has always been that. The other thing is, what's the future of baseball? And I know you've been talking about that, and I would think continued slow decline.
Stephen Pryor and the governor have both been on GoLocal Live, and they
Yeah.
make the argument on some of these incentive programs that they have is,
Yeah.
listen, Rhode Island's got to have some, bullets in its gun to be able to compete. But here's
Sure.
an unusual situation in which they've got nowhere else to go, and
This
Massachusetts.
Worcester thing is just,
No.
I think it's a non-starter. Yeah.
They've made no
Yeah,
offer.
yeah,
They haven't
yeah.
put anything on the table. Governor Baker has said straight
Forget
out,
it.
we're
Go
not going
pound
to.
sand, very polite. I
So-
wish them well, have a nice day.
So why are we using very limited resources, very limited incentives to put tens of millions of dollars on the table?
Well, I think some of it is kind of a variant of the 38 Studios thing. I think photo ops, because there is this connection with the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
So I think some state officials think this would be nice to sort of consolidate that. The kind of show business connection. I mean, basically, this is show business. This
Right.
is sort of, low octane show business. And I think they like the connection with Boston. I think they like the idea of photos and television, that kind
So
of
the
thing.
owners have said, listen, it's rumored to be that they spent somewhere around $25 million to buy the team.
Yeah.
And that because of the condition of the stadium, the value of the team has declined, attendance has declined. Should we just take it by
Well,
by
first of
eminent
all, we have to
domain?
ask, is it because of the decline of the, McCoy, which to me isn't that bad. I mean, it's a little bit old, but, but it's okay. I think the problem maybe is baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know that, but I have a hunch, looking at the demographics of these things, that maybe that's really the core. It's not McCoy per se.
So we should not take it by eminent domain at a lower price than they paid?
I don't think so. I don't think that's such a
Make it
high
like the
idea.
Green Bay Packers and make it an IPO.
But Josh, again, the biggest problem actually is when it came out, when some reporters did a little research and discovered Massachusetts doesn't do this. Now, they did do some peripheral stuff at Fenway. They did some peripheral stuff at Gillette Stadium, but not the stadium itself.
No.
We're talking about the stadium itself. Build a stadium for a company which is owned by very rich people.
Yeah,
That's the
privately
problem.
held.
It's not even a matter of an off-ramp or something like that. So I think that's the problem. And, I go to those games. I love to take, you mentioned the joking about World Traveler. We have quite a few friends from overseas. They love to go over there. It's fun.
Yeah, it's always a good
It's
time.
quirky. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Let's talk about Amazon.
Yeah,
It is it is the economic lottery for cities around the country.
Yeah.
Cities are pouring in tons of energy, some money, and a lot of brain power.
I've never seen anything like it. The gold rush for one company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though I think it's based on a very bad theory that one big company will save you. One big company can also kill you.
Yeah. But if you're a
So-
city like New York,
Yeah.
the implications are
Yeah.
less so,
Right.
but you have the apparatus and the infrastructure to
Right.
be able to
Right.
attract them. For the state of Rhode Island, we have roughly 500,000 workers, 50,000, 100,000 employees would have some huge positives and some huge implications
right. And
to our housing market.
Yeah, to
There's
the
no
housing market,
inventory.
it would be some great stuff and some terrible stuff. I think if they can pull it off, some kind of two-state thing, where in the greater Boston gets most of it, we get some. We're standing here 38 miles from Boston.
Yeah.
So we should be able to get some of that. I think in Boston would certainly be a natural. The other ones, if I had to bet, I'd say Austin.
Yeah.
Whole Foods is there, they got a lot of land, land is cheaper on there, major university. And the city itself, even though it's in a very red state, the city itself is, a commie city. It's
Yeah,
like Boston
right.
or something. So,
Do they have to be
Yeah.
on the East Coast though?
well, I think all other things are never equal. I think probably Bezos would like that. I mean, even Washington,
Yeah.
Virginia. But
Another very expensive place
very
to do
expensive
business.
place, very expensive place, because we send all our money to Washington, and then that jacks up the real estate prices. Probably maybe the richest suburb of the United States is Potomac, Maryland. Never been there. So maybe around there, but Austin would be so easy for them. That's just what strikes. I think that's the most alluring thing. What they would have in Boston is, of course, tremendous local technological skills, a lot of people who are very good at administrative chores, and quite a bit of dynamism, excitement, that sort of thing. I have a lot of trouble still saying where in Boston they would put this thing. Some people have talked about East Boston. Some people have talked about really, out on 128 someplace, but
I'll tell you, the
Boston's
building
pretty
up there.
pretty tight.
You go down that seaport right now, if you
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
been to the seaport in Boston,
I have,
it is
yeah,
really
yeah,
one of the most
yeah.
remarkable economic
It's
development.
astonishing. I used to have summer jobs down there and breathing in the aroma of the Fort Point Channel. And it was basically a slum. It was a two-story slum.
It is now cranes and glass everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting, yesterday we had on recently stepped down Prime Minister of Ireland,
Yeah.
Kenny, and he was meeting with a trade mission from Rhode Island. Mir Avedijan was there and some other folks. And he really talked about the power of this now new connection because of Norwegian Air being able to
Right.
move people really instantaneously.
Well, I could see Aer Lingus, other people coming in. As you know, one thing that's been kind of underreported is the completion of the extension of the runway.
Right, that's going to
And
be.
I would think, I may be knocking on wood here, but with an extremely competent director there, he should be moving into that. I know the FAA has been wanting to boost the foreign flights out of here for many years.
Right.
And, I can see many more international flights.
Providence is really posed to be the second airport in New
Right,
England
right,
because of
right,
this,
right.
and really creates an opportunity. It's amazing is for almost the same time, but for less money actually, you can fly from Green Airport to Dublin for less than taking an Acela train
I know.
down to New York. It's really
I know.
remarkable.
And a lot more, pretty comfortable.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah,
comfortable.
and the ability to then rethink what you're
Yeah.
doing as a business. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe the next easiest place for GoLocal to extend to
Yeah,
outside
Dublin.
of New England might be Dublin.
Dublin or
Right,
Shannon maybe
right.
would be, yeah.
Cork.
Right, right. But I think this is so great because, we certainly have the density of population. You've got 5.5 million people within about 80 miles of here. You've got generally an affluent demographic, obviously considerably less in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, but still overall one of the richest places in the United States. We're close to Europe too.
Yeah.
People forget that. We stick out. It's a peninsula. We're like an hour closer to Europe than New York is, and this has to be very attractive. And if they can build kind of a business infrastructure in Providence and in Warwick, that kind of burgeoning area there, I think it could be extremely good.
Now, let's talk about President Trump
Yeah.
and
Oh, boy.
international relations.
Yeah.
He spoke before the Nations.
Who can forget it? Right. Talked about Rocket Man.
Talked about Rocket
Right.
Man, and Elton John
Yeah.
was, I think,
Yeah.
humming in the background, and clearly there's this back and forth dialogue between what some are calling the two most unstable
Yeah.
world
That's
leaders.
a competitive field.
Yeah, that's right. Should we be worried, or is this just
Well,
more silly bravado?
I think we should be worried, yeah, and I agree with everything that Trump says, but I think we should be worried. If Kim does believe his regime is definitely threatened, he's all about, if his regime goes down, he gets killed, he should be killed, he's a mass murderer, he's
Yeah.
killed probably, well, his family has just killed tens of millions of people.
And
They're
he's
pretty
killed his
evil.
own, and he's killed
He killed his
his
whole family. He's
Right.
totally evil. He should be killed. I wish they could get a sniper close enough to take him out. But having said that, I think if he got to the point where he thought that Trump was really serious about taking him out, then I think he would do something. And I think you could have, Hitler trying to flood the subways at the end of the war. He may be that crazy.
And the mix of emotions. I think even some Democrats and certainly some military leaders have said that the ongoing appeasement strategy that previous
It's a
administration
disaster.
has not worked.
I remember writing about that in the 90s when, what's his name, Clinton was talking about that. It never works. It just makes things more dangerous. We never learn.
So is this
The
the
people
one
like
foreign
that
relations
appeasement-
that Trump is actually correct
Yeah,
on?
he's correct. He's absolutely correct. How you implement this,
Right.
I don't know.
And how you
But
tweet
he
it may not
sounds
be.
like the first serious person. Bush, baby Bush, and even his father, more W. Bush, and Clinton, full appeasement. Same thing with Obama.
What are we going to see? We've got, it's a really, his polling numbers, it looks like FEMA has been stellar in responding
Very good,
to,
very good.
to these.
Texas and Florida. much
All
better.
of them,
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
Puerto Rico. I mean, the head of FEMA this morning
Yeah.
was on all the
What's
morning
his
shows.
name? He's a very able guy, and I just went blank at his name, but he's very well thought of.
Well
before
thought
this.
of and just dynamic.
And it's not
and-
Louisiana.
No.
Louisiana is so corrupt, so crazy, it's impossible to get anything done. I always thought that W. Bush got a bum rap on that. I was not a huge admirer of him, but they blame him for the levees breaking and all that. No, that's New Orleans and Louisiana. Corrupt, incompetent.
Well, and isn't part of it that, Trump was there instantaneously,
Yeah, right,
physically,
right.
then it just
And-
takes the pressure off the administration.
Yeah, and he's got his crazy way. He's got a way of talking about this, which obviously people find people appealing. But I think that the most important things is, I think the good FEMA guy and the people running, whatever you think of the government of Texas, the governor there is perfectly able and competent. He's a competent administration. Same thing in Florida.
Yeah,
I don't
Scott.
like Scott
Yeah.
very much, but he is an extremely intelligent guy. And you compare that with the situation in Louisiana, Katrina, and they prepared pretty well for it. I have relatives in Florida and watched this. They were warning people. Everything kept changing too.
Right.
First they thought I was going to go up the East Coast, and it went up the West Coast. So I think it's been very well done. I can't speak much about Puerto Rico, which we should remind viewers is part of the United States.
Yeah, oh yeah,
but,
absolutely.
But I understand they're in there now too, the Virgin Islands. And,
3.8 million people, the entire
yeah.
country, the
Without-
entire
without
island,
juice. Yeah.
without any
Yeah.
electricity.
Yeah, yeah.
If you have a generator, you are king in that.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that
Well, if you
community.
can get the fuel to run the
Right.
generator, so that's a real problem.
Last one, healthcare. John McCain came out maybe an hour and a half ago and announced he was
I
going to
saw
vote
that.
no on the
Yeah,
Obama care repeal.
And for interesting reason, it was
Very-
not in proper order. In other words, there was not a full review of the pluses and minuses of this thing. They're trying to railroad it through because they promised the base, even though the base is getting cold feet about this too. But they want to say, we did it, we killed this thing. But they're going, and I know even Mitch McConnell's been uncomfortable about this, but he's under tremendous pressure with the base of the party to get something out there for Trump to sign. It looks now like it's not going to happen.
Does Obamacare collapse upon its own weight over the next few months and year?
I don't think so, but just out of the enlightened self-interest of the administration, especially the exchanges, which they've already yanked a lot of promotional money from, and they've tried to, well, if that will make things get worse, obviously, more people will be paying higher premiums, some people lose their insurance, so this will be politically bad. So I think, my instinct is they're gonna, if this Graham Cassidy thing goes down, they're gonna have to patch that, because they've gotta get through the next congressional elections.
With a functional healthcare
That's right,
system.
with a functional healthcare system. They have to address the Medicaid expansion controversy. So I'd be surprised to let everything collapse.
Yesterday, we had dueling media stories. We had on from Talkers Magazine, Michael Harrison talking about the
Yeah.
state of radio.
Yeah,
We've obviously saw WBRU
Yeah, too bad,
demise.
too bad, yeah.
Uh,
Could have been avoided. Could have
Local,
been-
another
yeah.
local media institution.
Should have been absorbed in the local NPR, in my view. Great signal, everybody wanted it,
Right.
the signal.
Sinclair
Yeah.
putting mandates
stuff,
on with a political agenda.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Providence Journal reporters picketing
Yeah.
over the ownership
16
of
reporters.
16
That's all they
remaining reporters at the Providence
sad,
Journal. I think when we launched in 2010, there were somewhere around 90 or 100 reporters.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think there
and-
were, in my time, at least the first time I worked there, I think there were a couple of hundred.
Yeah. So
a lot of editors, they have blind editors, so you don't know all these mistakes that are appearing now.
Yeah.
Getting through these people and knocking back beers in Austin, which is where the thing is edited.
Right, edited and designed down there.
Yeah, right.
Ironically,
so,
today,
yeah.
John Hill talked about, the head of the newspaper guild,
Yeah.
talked about there only being 16 reporters. Not kidding. There was a promotional email sent out today that their new offer is for $16. So I don't
You mean
know.
a $16 raise?
No, a $16 rate to subscribe
rate.
to the digital
An-
version
Annual?
for the Province Journal.
$16?
$16, and per
I mean,
month.
you want to
per
spend
month,
that when you
per
can
month.
go out and have a couple of sandwiches
Right.
at lunch.
But 16, I want to ask John, is that $1 per
Yeah,
reporter,
month.
right? So,
Incredible. Well, we don't know where any of this stuff is going. I will say to the viewers, though, in some form, print on paper will continue, but it's going to be a little bit like sailboats after the invention of steam. It'll
may have
be
a slightly different role.
kind of high end. Yeah, like books with red Morocco binding.
Of course, everybody should read on Sundays with your column, which is literally my favorite. It's this.
I told you to change your medication. I gave you a list of physicians to consult, but you just won't listen to it.
Well, let me tell you the interesting thing. We've really built Sunday to be a commentary day with a lot of voices. Mark Curtis, who used to be at the TV market here. Matt
Yeah, he's a good
Fechtow
guy,
is up
very
at-
knowledgeable.
Yeah, Matt
very
Fechtow
thoughtful.
is up at Kennedy School. Guest columnists we usually run in the Arena, which runs over at Channel 6. I'm on that show a lot. Kate's on A Lively Experiment. We package all those up. Sundays have gone from being on traffic as high a day as any other day of the week.
Yeah.
Because I think people really like to absorb that and see the local content.
Well, you
and
want to
thoughts.
be a kind of an overview, maybe a little bit quirky, maybe a little more of a writing exercise, and more unpredictable stuff.
Yeah,
I
that's right.
try to throw in, I have the usual subjects, but also try to occasionally toss in something that's unexpected.
Right.
And Sunday, I think, is a good time to do that.
And it's great. It's a great
Yeah,
piece.
yeah.
I want to thank everybody. We're going to take a 1-minute break here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Next up is going to be Tim Faulkner from EcoRI. Hold on one second. Bob Whitcomb, thanks so
Okay,
much.
thank you.